On va attendre d'arriver à une quarantaine de participants. Ça va prendre une minute, même pas.
We'll probably wait another minute till we get to about 40 participants.
Ok, je vais commencer. Donc, bonjour à tout le monde qui est en
Hello
train.
everyone, welcome to all those who are joining us. First thing is that there is simultaneous translation that is available. If you need to follow the session in either French or English, you just have to click on the interpretation button.
If you need to follow this session in English, all you have to do is click on the interpretation button that's at the bottom of the screen and choose the language that you need to listen in, to follow the session in. Donc, si jamais vous avez des questions ou des remarques,
if you have any questions, any comments that you would like to share along this session, all you have to do is share your questions in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. Now I'm going to be introducing our association Climate Change, which is an international association which was funded just prior to the COP21 conference. The objective was to gather non-state actors concerned by climate change issues. It's both in English and in French. Our website is both in English and French. We also have a portal of our actions where you will find also a mapping of all our actions, where we share best practices, especially in the African continent. We also have the climate agenda, which we update as much as possible. We also have a library for climate change. Climate change also has an observatory, which is an observatory for climate action, which assess the reality of all the actions in fighting against climate change. And our team, the team from the observatory, issues a report once a year since 2018, as well as surveys throughout the year. You can find out all this information on the website. We will put the link in the chat box. We also organize events like the climate change summits in Africa, which maybe you attended in 2018. We had one in Agadir, one in Abidjan, one in Accra last year. This year, we were to go to Kigali in Rwanda, but unfortunately, we had to cancel it because of this crisis, this health crisis. So these events are really an opportunity to gather all the various pilots of our coalition, African coalition, which you may already know, but it's really an opportunity for us to support our coalition members. So each of the members, this year we had to innovate and we had to change our format, of course, because of this health crisis. And therefore, we launched this series of virtual workshops last July. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Samuel for an introduction. Hello, everyone. So today's workshop, as you have understood, will be dealing with education and training to climate change. The idea is that in order to understand the problem, in order to find a solution, you have to understand the problem in all its dimension, which is one of the main goals of climate change. What we're doing is that we're trying, just like Eva was saying, try to bring as much information as possible regarding climate change. It's also some learnings which we have taken from the previous virtual workshops when most of the stakeholders were sharing about a lack of education and training, a lack of access to data. So in this particular workshop, we would like to say, ask the question whether or not we're sufficiently trained in climate issues. So we're going to start by asking you, each of the participants, asking you this question. Do you feel you are sufficiently trained in climate issues? So you can go to this website, which you can see at the screen, www.menti.com, and the question is, do you personally feel sufficiently trained in climate issues? Now, a second question is, where do you find the information regarding climate change? So the idea is to be able to share our ideas. Where do you find information so we can all go back with some new ideas? So please do not hesitate and go to this website, menti.com, and send us your views on the answer to these two questions. On top of asking all of you the same question, we also want to ask some of the stakeholders in climate change to share the testimonies of what they do and on how they have managed to get involved in climate issues. So without further ado, I will now hand over to our first speakers, Daniel and Lucien from the RAEDD, which is the African Network for Education and Sustainable Development. Thank you for giving me the floor, or giving the floor to the RAEDD, the African Network for Education and Sustainable Development. Therefore, we are working as a network, and we have done quite a bit of a walk together for the last decade. This particular network is going well, despite the difficulties that we have faced, as all of you know, in this health crisis. So what have we been doing? What kind of actions, activities have we been holding lately in order to educate people to climate issues? As usual, our organization, our network, was able to implement some new projects, especially one regarding education to climate change and to environmental issues in one of the high schools, the bilingual high school of Douala. What was this project all about? The project is about training the youngsters, the young students, to climate issues and to environmental issues. Because pollution in our country, on our continent, has reached a limit. Especially plastic pollution has become a main concern, a national concern, actually. So as a stakeholder trained around this issue of education to sustainable development, with a particular focus on environment, climate change, global citizenship, etc., which is all about living together. We do feel concerned by this issue, which is why we have become a network of organizations in order to bring our humble participation which is this fortress of climate change issues and the pollution of our own environment. This bilingual high school, therefore, has seen this project develop, and the students were very much involved. They were very active in this workshop during our various training sessions, when we were raising awareness among the students, the presentation of the project, etc. To all of our colleagues in this school who had to approve of this project and signed what we call their approval of the project and their involvement to this project, which is a sustainable document showing that you are committed and you accept that the project will be implemented within your own walls. That's what they actually signed. And this is what happened. The project was therefore implemented. And we went forward quite successfully, approaching it theme by theme and topic by topic, exactly as we were saying, would people know about climate change among the students and even among the teachers. After this initial phase, we implemented a schedule. We decided for a schedule, a topical schedule, which we strictly followed from beginning to end. First theoretically, and then we wanted to move on to the second phase, a practical phase, because sustainable development is not just a theory, it's also a practice. Therefore, we were able to proceed to the training regarding waste management. How do we make sure that our waste, even waste from the school cafeteria, why not start training the children, the student, and teach them about circular economy? We told them about circular economy. Why? Because the wastes which invade us today can also be a source of enrichment. But for this, we needed the children to understand this issue and for the students to start preparing themselves toward these new sectors. These are future sectors. Okay. You have about half of the time left. Therefore, I'm going to hand over to Lucien for the last 5 minutes, and I want to thank you. Hello, Samuel and Eva and all the other participants. The first question that was raised was, are we sufficiently equipped or trained for climate issues in Africa and for sustainable development? We have a master degree in intercultural degree in partnership with a university in Italy, in Venice, in Italy. So it's a partnership with Douala University. So we all have this degree. Since 2014, we have been trained when we've been doing ongoing training on the issues of sustainable development. So we are connected. We haven't stopped there. We are continuing to train. We were a pilot project, but now we are implementing education for sustainable development. Now the question is, are the students whom you meet through your network, do you find that they know enough about climate change? Do you find that they're sufficiently trained? Or do you think they should get more training? What do you feel about this? Thank you, Samuel. Our first priority in 2009 was to reinforce the capacities and the skills of the trainers to sustainable development, which is what brought me to this number 4, the SDGs 4, to climate change. Therefore, we have trained the initial trainers in this. We have about 18 partners in our network, and where the RAEDD has been involved. So we are now mobilizing the students through post-school activities, through clubs like the UNESCO Club, etc. There is, of course, a context in Cameroon since 2014. The idea is to raise awareness among students regarding climate change. So many of the students are already doing this as part of their curriculum. So we would say that, yes, the students are well informed. So we're talking about life situations, the social, economical, environmental, cultural aspects of sustainable development. But the results are not sufficient, even though this is well implemented. For example, in the school of Douala, there are other cities which are also affected by our actions. In Douala, in other cities where our network, the RAEDD, is working. So this project presented by Daniel, this project, which has impacted the young people, is kind of halfway. We have, however, met the directors of the schools in order to take this further, even beyond the health crisis, to train our future leaders who will be able to implement these live projects. In the east of Cameroon, which is another area, agri-ecological area. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop you there because we need to give the floor to our other participants. We will try to come back to you for more questions at the end of this workshop. Thank you very much. Okay, just before that, I can just remind you that you can answer this survey on minty.com with the code which you got on the chat box in order to answer the survey and give us an idea of what you think about this issue of whether or not we are sufficiently equipped or trained, or you are sufficiently trained. Okay, it's over to you now. I'm trying to share my screen now. Can you hear me well? Yes. Can you see my screen? Okay. Thank you for organizing this workshop. Thank you for those who have joined us despite their busy schedule. And my name is Kevin, and who am I? Kevin Ossah. Very quickly, I'm a climate activist since 2014. I have a basic training as a climate engineer in environment engineering. I'm a member of CliMates, which is a young people's association. During the Climate Change Summit in 2019, 19, I was a core moderator of the Climate Education Coalition with the General Secretary of Climate Change. And I also led a workshop on climate in Africa. So these two events actually really strengthened my interest. And I believe that there were people who did believe in me, who thought we were doing a good job and who wanted to give us some responsibility. I'm also the executive director of the OJEDD International. I'm also the representative of ASEAN in Togo. And I'm also I've started a vacant position as a teacher at Sciences Po, political science school, where I also facilitate workshops with first-year students. So this is what I'm going to be talking about, as you can see on the screen. And then I will talk about the impact of the COVID-19 crisis on our activities and the emergency plan, which we have implemented to get through. And I will talk a little bit more about our strategy, our retaliation response. And then I will talk also about the action dynamics at a local level. Even though it's been difficult to work at a regional, international level, we've been able to, however, work at a local level and develop our model action. Now, I'm going to talk first of all about the topic of today, which is training and education to climate issues in Africa. Of course, this is a good question. If you try to tackle this issue of education, of course, you realize there's a lot of challenges on a continent like Africa. We do have decision makers who do not necessarily understand this issue and do not necessarily make it a priority. It's not a priority to them. And next, most of our population, especially the young people, do not understand what we're talking about when we talk about the challenges and what is at stake regarding climate issues, the disappearing of species, etc., biodiversity, all these topics and issues. Now, next. There's also this crisis due to the COVID-19, which did paralyze the education sector in Africa. So that is something that has been really painful. We were not expecting this. No one saw it coming. And once the crisis got there, then doors started closing. Schools were closing down. And in a sense, it has been difficult. More than 1 million students had to stay at home and could not go to school. But in all of this, there has been young people who have been committed, like myself and others, who haven't just stayed there watching, but who actually got involved, who pulled their sleeves upward to try to find new innovative questions, to try to keep the dynamics going within their own organization, to try to do new things and innovate new things. Now, talking about the OJEDD, we are a network of what we mean by OJEDD is the youth organization committed to sustainable development. We are present in 16 countries since July 2019. We try to hold an annual meeting and where we decided to go to the international, to move to an international level. So now we kind of rotate our actions, take it in turn, and we try to enlarge this network as much as possible and make it as democratic as possible so that everyone can benefit from our own strategy, our own tools, wherever people might be. Initially, we had an international vision, but we were not such an international organization. So it really We started actually in 2017 in Togo, and we were registered in 2018 of March the 8th. You have 3 minutes left. Okay, then very quickly. Okay, what we do is that we help communities for sustainable development, to management of natural resources, social actions, and all kind of innovations and actions for sustainable development. We try to also include the young people in our actions for climate change. We try to raise awareness. I go quickly now. We do not have any funding. We had difficulties because of the COVID-19. We started an educational program, and we were to work with the schools April, May, and June, but of course that was cancelled. We could not access the schools were closed down. So we had to stop all of our activities, and even our premises were closed down in March for 3 weeks. So we tried to think of other ways of working. Okay, this is just some words on what we're doing. We were waiting for the end of the COVID-19 crisis, so we had to organize various seminars. These are the things that we did on May 17th. I think it was with Ecolo Trip on the impact of COVID-19 and climate change. That's one thing we did. We talked about oceans, the National Day for Women, International Day for Women. We also took part in many other projects, like we were able to carry out 2 projects, the International Solidarity Initiative that was started by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in France, and also another project for the youth and the agroecology with the Ministry of Youth in Togo. So we were able to reinforce the youth capacities and also the farmers regarding agroecology and how to produce what we are eating. So in terms of perspectives, we're trying to strengthen the mobilization of our community. We've been organizing a seminar and a training seminar.
Séminaire de formation sur les changements climatiques à Lomé en décembre, mobilisation de ressources pour plus d'impact, innover le projet éco-école. Donc, on a appelé les écoles et puis on a réfléchi sur un format de webinaire, de cours et d'ateliers webinaires que les enfants ils peuvent directement depuis leur classe suivre parce qu'ils ont démarré en fait leur rentrée. Donc, on va faire un format digital pour eux. Donc, collaborer efficacement avec d'autres acteurs, renforcer les capacités.
They have gone back to school now. So we really are concerned about this. We want to be able to help the young children and to help the farmers, especially because they are the one producing what we are eating. So we have also a agri-ecological farm. This is a project, and we want to create this place also, a participative educational place, like a green lab where young people can come and learn. There will be a library, there will be like a cafe. We'll be working on the various projects in this lab. So regarding education in Africa and regarding climate change, education is not really yet totally implemented. We are very much behind, and because of the COVID, of course, things have been slowed down, but it's important for population, especially the young people in Africa, be trained regarding what is at stake in climate issues, environment issues, etc., because we're talking about a sustainable development that can only really be done with the young people. If the youth is not trained and does not understand the challenges, then I'm not sure we will be very efficient. Thank you, Kevin. We want to encourage and strengthen our youth capacity. Thank you, Kevin. We will be able to share your PowerPoint at the end of this session. So thank you very much. Now moving on to our next speaker, Jeanne-Irène from Page Verte from the Green Page organization, and then we will have a time for testimony. So Jeanne-Irène, is over to you now. Thank you very much, and I want to congratulate you for this workshop, the whole series of a workshop that we've been following since this crisis. It's not been easy, but really congratulations. I want to thank all the speakers and all the participants. I'm Jeanne-Irène Koumo. I'm the president of the Green Page NGO. I have a master's degree in international law from a university in France. I'm also a mom of 4 children. I don't know what you will make of this, but why do I have this passion for education in climate change? And if I'm going to share my screen with you.
Est-ce que vous voyez mon écran, s'il vous plaît?
Can you see my screen?
Pas pour l'instant. Ah, là, ça vient.
Yes.
D'accord. Donc, pour le thème, l'éducation.
Now our topic, which is education and training to climate issues, are we sufficiently trained? I would say that as NGO involved in education, I would say we have done our share, and I am sharing with you what we have been doing so far, what the Green Page, Page Verte, has done so far. First of all, this is a plan of my presentation, which is first an introduction to our NGO and a couple of examples of our curriculums and the program that have been impacted rather by the COVID-19 crisis. In order to introduce our NGO, it's an NGO that was started that published at the official journal in 2020 January, but was funded or was started rather in June of 2016. A group of young people sitting together, and we started thinking about this issue, and we realized we needed to have this training. We needed to have young people trained. When I used to live in Tunisia, my young daughter, who was 5 at the time, was already trained in school to the awareness of climate change, contrary to Chad or to Ivory Coast. So I thought, why not start an organization that would teach the children what is climate change all about, because these will be tomorrow's decision makers, so that they will make the right decisions if they know about these issues. So we started this NGO. We are present in several countries in Africa, as you can see on this map. We have also a representation in France and also one in Haiti. We have 6 areas of activities: education and environment and sustainable development, gender and development, waste management, agroforestry, hygiene and water, and health and environment. We've carried out quite a few projects. The main one being the international mobility, which is an exchange program where we had 17 students come along with their teachers to our school, to a school in Ivory Coast. They spent 5 days with families. They went to school just like the Ivory Coast students, and they ate the local food just to see what it was like. So the students were able to attend classes, and they were able to realize that they were pretty much studying the same thing. They realized also that we had actually called this Colibri 1, and when they arrived, the topic, they realized that Africa is the birth of humankind, and it went really well. In that sense, we were able to strengthen this partnership between France and the Ivory Coast, between the school, the local authorities, companies. We carried out several actions and we identified and were able to elaborate practical action. And this collaboration gave birth to an awareness to ecology. Our visitors did not come empty-handed. They came with a lot of books, which is something which we had prepared a year in advance, thanks to the Alliance. This is how we met during the COP23. So we sat together and we thought about one particular action, something we could do in common. Thanks to the ACP, this library started. Now our students are using these resources. We also have a theater company. During this awareness campaign, it was the youngest children which we were training through sketch, through drama, 5-10-minute sketches, and these children would act and play, and then we would come along to talk about this issue on the green, on the right-hand side. This is the youngest children. They were just knocking at people's door to try to rare and bring awareness. This is what we call door-to-door awareness. This was in an area which was not easily accessible, a very poor area. It was so hard to get there, but thanks to the children, these innocent children and the easy contact, we were able to really raise awareness. Thanks to this coalition, we were able to go to the COP23 on the right-hand side. Two youngest who are under the age of 10, they attended the COP23, and our project actually received the label of the best project at Marrakesh, at the COP22 in Marrakesh. It was our particular technique through the children. Sorry about using the word using the children. Really, they are the main players. They are at the forefront of what we're doing, and it raised a lot of curiosity and emotion, which is the reason why we had this prize. I also had a prize. I also got a reward for this. We also went with young people at Katowice for the COP25. The Green Page is also part of the largest coalition, which we call PACJA, which is a Pan-African Justice Islands for Climate Justice Islands. So we are part of this alliance. I'm also the treasurer, national treasurer. The PACJA works with the religious leaders, traditional leaders, rulers. As you can see on this picture, we did a door-to-door awareness, a day of awareness. We also did a day of sanitation. We didn't stay with our arms crossed during the COVID-19 crisis. We did one project called Stop.
À la phase 1, il était question de faire des petites vidéos de diffusion.
We did a small video to raise awareness for people to the protective measures. We couldn't do the door-to-door like we used to do, but everyone was able to meet, and in 2 or 3 people, and we were able to post these on the social media and on a YouTube page. Sorry. The second phase was to help the local population. We distributed kits for hand washing, and not just at our own headquarters, but everywhere. Everyone was able to contribute. Everyone was able to bring to the population, to the poorest and most vulnerable population, the necessary kits for hand washing. So we didn't stay without doing anything. We were not able to do the door-to-door awareness like we used to, but we went beyond. Actually, we offered these kits to villages, to the rulers, and it continues. This is going on still. As you have 1 minute left. Now, what has been our projects that have been impacted by the COVID-19? As you can see here, it's a biological project at the canteen. And then the second phase of the project, our friends were supposed to come back, but they were not able to. There was also another project for integrating climate change issues to the culture, to local cultural farming, and another project for reforesting and other projects which we're not able, like the project of green ambassadors, which we could not carry out because of the crisis. School has just started again, but we will continue our action. Thank you very much. Thank you to your, thank you, Jeanne, sorry, for your presentation, and to all of our speakers today. Now we're going to move on to our interactive part of the workshop, and we're going to be sharing and hearing some testimonies from people who are online with us. We're just going to show you the results of our survey, which we asked you at the beginning of this workshop. Now you can see the response. Do you feel sufficiently trained for climate issues or sufficiently equipped? Yes, more or less, I would say. More or less, yes is the answer. Okay, now the second question was the following one. Where do you find information about climate change? We're just gonna post a few actions, online courses, webinars, from the net, etc. These are some of the answers from resource centers like libraries, from the internet training workshops. Continue to feed your responses on this menti.com website and tell us where you find information about climate change. So I think we can now move on to the next part of our seminar. And it's over to you, Patience. Are you still there with us?
Patience, are you still here? Patience, are you still connected to Zoom?
So the idea now is to get some reaction online. Okay.
Hi, Patience, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I had a little bit internet challenge. Okay, so I'm Patience from Ghana, and I'm so excited to be here with everyone. For me, I don't speak French fluently, so I'm going to speak English. So I think as for interpretation,
no
so
problem. We've just got the first question for you today. Then is if you could briefly present your current activities with ASEN and with Greenfuel Innovation Africa.
All right, sure. Thank you. I want to share my screen, so I can do that now. Okay.
Bearing in mind that you just have a few minutes.
I have a few minutes. Okay, all right, sure. So as I said, I'm Patience from Ghana, and I'm the founder and CEO of Greenfuel Innovation Africa. And I'm so excited to be here. And I'm a young female entrepreneur, and that is something I'm so excited about. So at Greenfuel, one thing we focus on is providing the access to clean cooking energy for domestic and commercial purposes. And currently we have our prototype product that is CleanChar. CleanChar is produced from agricultural waste and is an alternative source of energy. But one thing about it, that it is clean and eco-friendly. Now I'm going to tell you a little story how I came about CleanChar. So in 2017, I was a teenager by then, and I watched a documentary on DWTV on the causes and effects of deforestation in Africa. And basically, I was studying business. I had no idea about climate change by then. That means that I was not educated on climate change. So that means I had less knowledge on climate change. So what I did was, after watching a documentary, I did my own personal research online. And that is where I got knowledge about climate change. So you can just understand how our educational system is being structured here in Ghana. We don't have a curriculum on climate change in our various universities. But since climate change has become the topic now, I believe the government is doing something about that. So after my research, I went for other pitch competition. That is where I developed the prototype that you are seeing. So our raw material, as I said, is agricultural waste. So we use coconut husk, water hyacinths for our climate, our clincher. And one thing we do is that we train women in rural areas. And first of all, one of the main focus is to educate them on how to produce clean energy, because these women have no idea about climate change. So when you go to most of the rural areas, they use firewood for cooking and they don't see any problem with it. So you can see that they have less knowledge about it. So when we go to the community, we educate them on climate change and also clean cooking energy. And after we introduced this to them, they were so excited about it and they were ready to learn. So first of all, we had our first sponsorship from Green Africa Youth Organization, that is GAYO, who supported us to train these women. And these women you see here are from a New Edibiase in the Ashanti region in Ghana. We were able to train 7 women because that is what our sponsorship could do. And as you can see, they have finished the production of clean energy from agricultural waste and they are holding it. And for me, with Africa Circular Economy Network here in Ghana, what I do is that because of my knowledge in climate change and less knowledge of climate change for young people like colleagues in the university. So I go to other universities to educate them on climate change, or I form clubs in the various universities. So every month we do have a review of our meeting, and I've had several meetings like that. I was able to get my colleagues from different 5 universities where we did a seminar on climate change, and they were so passionate about it. And I introduced them to other climate change conferences, workshops, and they attend. During the African Climate Week, some of them attended. And during the Climate Chance Conference in Ghana, that was in 2019, some of them were there and they were so happy to attend. And they were able to learn various stuff about climate change. So I can say that for climate change in Ghana, with the educational system, is not something that they really know about. But with what we are doing as youth organization like Africa Circular Economy and what I'm doing in Green Africa Youth Organization, I've been able to impact some of the young people in my community, some of the young people in the university to learn about climate change. And as I'm talking to you now, some of them have formed their own clubs in the university. I have one guy in UTC who has formed a club and he's impacting other young people like himself. So I'm so excited about what we are doing. And I believe that workshop and virtual seminar like this will help young people to learn from. Because when the link was shared, most of them were happy to join the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Patience.
On va essayer de parler aussi maintenant avec...
Now we're going to talk with the 2 people from CliMates who have joined us for this workshop, Mamadou and Niakate. We're going to try to do this in the form of an interview. Could you first of all introduce yourself and introduce in 1 minute, we have little time left unfortunately, what you are doing as part of CliMates Mali. I don't know who wants to start, Niakate and then Mamadou maybe. Are you there?
Super.
Bon, je vais passer à Mamadou, je vais pas faire.
Alors, Niakate, est-ce que tu peux te présenter rapidement?
Niakate, can you introduce yourself and in 1 minute introduce CliMates in Madagascar?
Bonjour à tous, bonjour à tous les participants.
Hello everyone. My name is Niaro.
Ça fait déjà un an.
I cannot hear. I cannot hear. Here in Madagascar, what we're doing is mainly research as CliMates International. We don't have the necessary finances to do so, but we try to do our best to participate to the various events regarding climate issues. That's what we are doing.
Mamadou, est-ce que tu peux...
With the COVID-19, of course. Okay, we will talk about this in a minute, but can Mamadou maybe introduce himself? Thank you very much. Thank you to the whole team of Climate Change. I'm Mamadou Niakate. I'm the president for CliMates Mali in Mali, which is a branch of CliMates International, which started in 2015. We are a laboratory, and we are made up of volunteers, young volunteers. Our goal is to train the young people to become stakeholders in climate change and to develop innovative tools to face the challenges in climate issues. We have an annual schedule planning with various action plans, the educational and environmental project, family protection of the Niger River, and recently we initiated a new project for climate change. So we carry out activities, national days, etc., to raise awareness. Okay, good. For both of you, young people committed on the issue of sustainable development and climate issues in Africa, we would like to ask you the following question, just to hear from you. How are you made aware? How are you actually trained yourself to the issues of climate change? Niaro, would you like to start? Yes, of course. Majority of people are not really aware of this, only part of the population, depending on where they come from, on their social context.
D'accord. Donc ici, c'est pas vraiment pareil. Les gens sont pas tous au courant.
People are not all aware of the challenges of climate change. It depends on their own priorities. It's not really the priority for most people. It depends on their purchase power. What about you? How did you come to be aware of this? I studied at university. I'm an agri-engineer. This is how I got involved and how I got to know climate, which was doing some actions. And they are the one who trained me to climate change. And because of my, but I also studied this issue in my own studies as an engineer. Okay, so we can see the importance of the youth NGOs and universities in raising the awareness of this about these issues. What about you, Mamadou? I think you mentioned your own experience and an achievement from a farming background. Yes, exactly. We started by just realizing that most of the time I'm in the country with older people, and one day they told me and they noted, and I noticed a change in the climate, and they didn't know how to explain this because of the fact that the rain was becoming sparse and the climate was changing. There was something that was not right. So I was starting to wonder why all these changes. That's why I started doing some research about climate change and environment, climate change. So I started doing some investigations. I started finding out, doing some research, which is when I came across some facts, and I also had the opportunity to take part in the international conference for young people in Burkina Faso in 2018. So, okay, great. And now with the CliMates Mali activities, do you find that the young people that you talk to are interested in this topic, and why? What have you been noticing? Okay, these young people are aware about the issues of climate change, but young people can really be involved if they feel directly concerned. So this frame for volunteership is an issue. How should the young people get involved? How can we draw from this? So that's our main issue. But regarding awareness issues, and young people like to come and take part in the various conferences and special days. We carry out various actions, and we try to train the children from an early age. So the change will really become easier if we start at a younger age. What about you, Nyaho, with your own activities at CliMates in Madagascar? Do you find that the people are aware of this issue, or has it been a difficulty? Has it been difficult to get the young people interested in this? Personally, I found that the young people are highly interested, which is a bit what we've just heard about Mali. It's regarding the volunteer. Not that young people are not interested in volunteering, but it's time management. They're not really good at time management, at setting their priorities. That's our main issue. It's how to set their own priorities. If they have to go and study or work at school, university, they tend to disregard the organization and the volunteer work. But generally speaking, the people we talk to are very interested and very concerned by climate change issues, to do advocacy, to take part in actions. They are very interested, but they don't necessarily have the time or the means to do so because it's a volunteer work. They have to pay out of their own pocket if they have to go to places, so it's not really easy. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Now, as a conclusion, let's just quickly ask all of our speakers to just share maybe one idea as to how to access information, whether it be an internet website or an organization. Anything in 20 seconds each, 20 seconds each. I will not let you speak much longer than that, but if you could just maybe tell us about and share with us some ideas of places and channels of information to get trained and get equipped. Maybe we'll start with Niaro and Mamadou. If we go backward. Okay. It's a governmental initiative. We are trying to issue a small curriculum regarding climate issues in order to convey the information and the message. That's our approach, a small curriculum. Niaro, what about you? Reading books, looking on the internet. You have to take you have to take the initiative yourself to decide to be trained, and the changes and the consequences of climate change are actually very visible here in the street, so it's very easy to get access to information. What about you, Patience?
Yeah, so for me, what I say is that you have to attend any climate change workshop, conference, like one that we are having now. You've learned from others, and also as Nyaho said, you do your personal research on the internet. You go to the climate change, UN climate change page, Instagram, Facebook, you get a lot of information there. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Jeanne-Irène?
Jeanne-Irène, what about you?
Pour moi, c'est aussi la même chose. Il faut
Same for me, doing personal research
dans un monde numérique. Donc,
at
au lieu d'aller
the
sur Facebook,
at a
sur
time of digital revolution. It's better to do this on the internet. We have an objective, a goal. We have different websites in Ivory Coast. I can't remember all the names, but you can check on the internet. And our own organization, Green Page, has its own educational program. What about you, Kevin?
Désolé, hein, je parlais dans le vide.
Sorry.
Pour donner des exemples de sites,
Just to give you a few ideas of website, there's one particular, I can write it in the chat box, unitar.org. You can get good courses there. Another one called Objective 2030, the Laval University of Laval.
Pour dire aussi une chose, le domaine de l'éducation, c'est vague.
Also, to say that the area of education varies. So depending on your background and your training background, you just have to look on Google. You'll see a lot of training and workshops there. Thank you very much, Daniel and Lucien. Do you also have another source of information that you could share with us?
Bon, pour ma part, allô, vous me suivez?
Can you hear me? As for me, I can talk about some, well, the TV programs even. Often on TV, you can find information about international summits. So anybody who is curious and interested in this can really find out. You can also get curriculums, information about all these climate issues. Yeah, and other networks, other channels of information.
On peut citer l'UNESCO, on peut citer l'IFDD,
like UNESCO, the French Francophone Institute for Sustainable Development, Rural, also another organization working on water issues, civil society also, and other initiatives at the local level, local authorities and organizations, various ministries, environmental ministry, educational ministry, who are also some of our partners, the African Union also. More and more initiatives that you can find. Climate Chance, of course, you are there too. Thank you for all these ideas. I'm just writing down all your answers. Okay, it's wonderful to hear from you. This coalition is really full of ideas and projects which are only just waiting to be implemented. So we will try to keep in touch to continue working together in the coming week. Thank you to all of our participants. Thank you to all of our panelists, to all those who followed the workshop. Also to mention our website, climatechange.org, where you can find information about education. You will find a library, a portal, and an observatory. And you will find all kinds of information regarding climate issues. Okay, thank you. We are now at the end of this workshop. Next one will be next Thursday, the 8th. Thank you very much and goodbye. Bye-bye.
Au revoir et bientôt.
Merci.
Merci à tout le monde.
Merci.
Voilà.